it's a little bit odd looking back in the mid 2000s and remembering just how Kid Icarus was viewed back in the day. Back then, Kid Icarus was one of those seen as that Nintendo franchise that never really took off into a full series. There was a Game Boy sequel in Myths and Monsters. There were references here and there. There was a trophy in Super Smash Bros. Melee, but the overwhelming consensus among Nintendo fans at that time was that Kid Icarus had fallen by the wayside. It was a game that had just been forgotten about. It was something that was never ever going to get a sequel. There was no real interest in it. Nobody was going to bring this character back. Wasn't even in Smash Bros. Like, there were hints and teases about Kid Icarus content. Like, Nintendo Power would cover the original game, but for a lot of people, Kid Icarus would just had just fallen by the wayside. But today, after Smash Bros, after Uprising, Kid Icarus is seen completely differently. It's seen as like a major Nintendo IP that saw a resurgence in popularity following his the cult classic appeal of Uprising, which was a fantastic 3DS game, one of my all-time favorites, and kind of redefined the characters and world. So much so, in fact, that people kind of forget what the original Kid Icarus even was. In fact, this is actually, I think, the first time I've played the game since I first beat it in like 2014 or something like that. The first time I played Kid Icarus in a long, long time, and it's become clear to me that the original game, because of Uprising's success, because of its popularity, has become completely forgotten. Like, people used to see this as a somewhat obscure NES gem, one of the best games on the console, but these days, nobody talks about the game at all. So, what is Kid Icarus? It is an action-based platformer where you play as an angel, go exploring a wide range of levels. You are climbing up. You start off going upward, jumping up these platforms, fighting monsters that come at you from either side. This game has the unique property of being able to move from one side of the screen to the other by walking to the right. It kind of circles around. You do that. Eventually, though, you end up getting to areas that are completely different. You get to like a side-scrolling level. You get to dungeons that are very similar to the Zelda. You get like a final boss that's kind of plays out like a rail shooter. Like, the game, I think, one of the things that really makes it stand out, to me at least, these days, is like its sheer variety. Like, it really does feel like Nintendo was trying to do a whole bunch of different things with this one. This one has like a currency system, which is kind of unusual for a 2D platformer game like this. It, Pit's primary weapon is the bow. He gets new powers at the end. The game radically changes. The final boss is a bit more intense than what you're used to seeing at that time period. The game looks good for the time period. Like, there are a lot of like really positive things to say about Kid Icarus, and it is kind of a shame. It's kind of reached the point where it's become kind of obscure, kind of forgotten. Really, with Uprising's popularity, I would want this game to be talked about more. I want this game to be discussed more often. I want people to come back and play it again, because in a lot of ways, I think this game is a lot better than people are giving it credit for right now. And I suppose in the end, that's the entire point of Nintendo Classics, is to discuss these long forgotten, obscure Nintendo games. But at the moment, Kid Icarus feels as if it's kind of been forgotten, as if it doesn't have wings. But someday, I'm sure Kid Icarus will return, and again, we will be talking about the original NES Classic.